you're gonna be my assistant.
Assistant at your service.
Go sit down.
Assistant at your service.
You're live. What's going on? I'm Davin Jackson, also known as D-Jax. This is finally here. Welcome to my stream for Alpha Cybersecurity, which is my blog site, and is also going to be my Twitch stream name as well as my YouTube channel. That's my son. So basically, my goal is to try to help those in the cybersecurity field either get better or get into this field. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So about me, I'm an Air Force veteran. I'm also a husband and a father of 2 children. My son that you see over there, and I have a daughter. I don't know where she is, somewhere, but hi, Jada. Currently live in Georgia, used to be in Connecticut. That's my son, Nathaniel. He's going to go sit down now. Just a quick rundown. So I served a few years in the military as an aircraft mechanic. After that, came home, really couldn't get a job in the Air Force, or couldn't get a job doing aircraft maintenance on the jets that I worked on since they were fighter jets. Jumped around from job to job for a little while. Finally, my wife, or my girlfriend at the time, looked at me and was like, you know what do you enjoy doing? I told her I like doing technology. Always kind of had a thing for technology, so she told me to just kind of go ahead and do it. Basically, started looking into certifications and doing little jobs here and there. Got my first job at Circuit City. That's how old I am. Everybody's doing this how old you are challenge. My first tech job was at Circuit City. Where was I? Oh, my certifications. So after my certificate, after that, I got my A+ certification, Network Plus, Security Plus. Had a couple other jobs after Circuit City went out of business. Also then jumped into some Microsoft certifications. Got my MCITP in Windows 7 and Windows Server 2008, and I think it's 2012. I don't know. After a while, decided I wanted to go into the cybersecurity world. Looked into what certifications I can get. Started off with my CEH, or Certified Ethical Hacker, from EC Council, which is pretty much a given that anybody who wants to do penetration testing should have. Also got my Certified Penetration Tester, which is similar to a lot of these practical exams where you have a few days to try to get root on a few machines and write up a report. Later on, I got my CCFP, which is a Certified Computer Forensics Professional, because I did have some interest in that. And then about last year, I got my CISSP. So that was the last one I got. Right now, I'm currently working on my OSCP. If you've seen my previous article, I have a whole story about how basically I failed it, and I failed by about 15 points. So my goal now is to start my journey all over again, and I'm going to share it with everybody here. We're going to start with setting up a Kali Linux machine, probably even set up a machine for your first lab that you can practice on. My goal is to try to go through every single virtual machine that's listed for the OSCP before actually going into the course. Obviously, with the OSCP course, I can't let that information out as far as what's being done in those labs, because that's against the rules and we don't want to do that. But we will go through a few VulnHub machines as well as maybe some Hack the Box. Also, there's a bunch of different websites you can go on to test, like Hack This Site, or Cybrary has a lot of learning resources as well. So what I want to do today is just do a quick introduction. I went through who I am, went through who my son is, and yeah. So there's a couple quick rules. Sometimes I cuss, I curse, I say bad words. If you're easily offended, I apologize in advance, and if not, cool, stick around. So, I will try to answer as many questions as I can. If I missed any questions, just ask again in the chat. I'm new to this, so I'm still trying to look around, and I got 3 screens going all over the place. So I will try to answer every question I can. If not, you can shoot me a message on any one of my websites, whether it's alphacybersecurity.tech or my Facebook my Facebook page, my Instagram page, or my Twitter page. Also, I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be an expert. I am far from an expert. So I'll answer it as best as I can to the best knowledge as I can. I'm only human. I'm not fucking Google. So, yeah, I will try to do what I can to answer your questions to the best of my knowledge. All right. So, you have anything here? You have anything you want to say? You want to come say hello?
Hello, everybody.
All right. Now he's leaving. So, if you can see my screen right now, this is my website, alphacybersecurity.tech. I'm going to refer to this site as much as possible because, damn it, it's my site, and I need to plug it as much as possible. So, go to the website, read the blogs, enjoy it, leave your comments, and subscribe. We have a lot of good things coming in the near future. I actually have a link on how to set up your penetration testing lab. So, if we want to do this real quick, we'll just Google. All right, we'll just go through this real quick. So what is pen testing? Pen testing is basically called ethical hacking. I know when people usually hear the word hacking, they think Russians, they think Mr. Robot, they think all the negative things you can possibly think when it comes to hackers. But in all honesty, it's actually a really cool job, and it makes a lot of money if you know what you're doing. So this website here has it as pen testing or ethical hacking is the practice of testing a computer system, network, or web application to find security vulnerabilities that an attacker can exploit. Penetration testing can be automated with software applications or performed manually. That's about right. So basically that breaks down what I do for a living. We get calls from numerous clients to come in and test their security, whether it's their physical security, so it's seeing if we can actually break in, pick locks, see if we can bypass their security guards, and do everything we can do to avoid being arrested and seeing how far we can get. But typically what we usually do is pen testing is we try to connect to a network, connect to a web application, see what type of vulnerabilities are out there and how we can exploit them to our advantage to see what type of information we can get. So how do we do this? We typically use several different operating systems, whether they're Windows or Linux. Typically the usual one is Linux, and the most popular one is Kali Linux. Kali Linux is made by Offensive Security, and we have them right here, who are actually the same people who created the OSCP certification that I'm working towards. So Kali Linux comes with like thousands of tools you can use for pen testing purposes, whether it's Wi-Fi pen testing if you're trying to crack passwords, if you're trying to brute force passwords, if you're trying to scan for ports and scan for what vulnerabilities are on the ports, if you're trying to scan what services are on the ports. I guess that's what we're going to do here. We're going to quickly go through how to set up a Kali Linux virtual machine. So what you want to do is you want to download and install Vmware. I can't type. Or there's Oracle's Virtualbox. No, that's the wrong site. There we go. Okay, so these two are basically the two most popular virtualization machines that you can use to install multiple virtual environments. So you can have Kali Linux, you can have another Windows machine, you can have another Linux machine, you can download pretty much any type of machine. It's almost like having a computer within your computer. The benefits to that is basically you can use a computer however you see fit. You can install what you want. You can mess around with it, and if it breaks, you can just wipe it or restore it to a previous image, or you can download another one and install another image. So you can download here for Virtualbox. So you pick whatever operating system you have. So there's Windows, there's Mac, there's Linux distributions. I'm using a Windows machine, so I'll use that. And then for VMware, if I can actually go ahead and find it. Oh, screw this. Google is your friend. VMware Workstation download. I hear somebody coming. Go ahead, Tyler. So you can download VMware Workstation Player. That's now the great thing about these is there are paid versions for VMware, but this is the free version that you can download and install. It doesn't come with, obviously it doesn't come with all the features that the professional version comes with, but it still gets the job done as far as installing what you need to install and running the different virtual machines you need. Most computers these days should have virtualization capabilities. Some older ones you had to go into the BIOS and actually change it to enable that feature, and some actually just didn't have it at all. But like I said, most common computers now, or most modern computers now, will actually use modern virtualization built in, so you should be fine. Okay, so we downloaded those, and then what you'd want to do is, depending on which virtual machine you want to use, you would go to Kali Linux, you would go to Offensive Security, or Kali.org, and then you can download here. Now, these all here are different torrents or different distributions you can use for whatever purposes. But if you come down here, there's a VMware VM, and then there's a Virtualbox VM. Excuse me. What you would want to do is you want to figure out whether or not you use a 32-bit or a 64-bit operating system. Most of the operating systems, or most of the computers today, are going to do it 64-bit, as they're trying to do away with most 32-bit. So you would want to go here. Like I said, I just did VMware, but I'm going to show you how to do both. So here, take this. Thank you. So here you have your VirtualBox images, and then here you have your VMware. You can click here, or you can click here for a torrent site if you use torrent sites. I don't right now, so I went ahead and actually cancel these. I went ahead already and actually downloaded them, so you can see them both here. So this one is in a 7-zip file, and this one is actually just an OVA file. So what you want to do is, for this one here, you know what's crazy? I have a whole freaking article on how to do this, and I'm not even paying attention to it. So this is where we are here. So basically what you want to do is you want to download 7-zip. I already have 7-zip installed, but we can just go to the website real quick. Again, there's a 32-bit and a 64-bit that you can download and install. Again, I've already installed 7-zip, but this is where you would go to install those programs. So once you kind of go there, you basically go to your folder. So for 7-zip, you would just right click, come over here, you can hit extract here. It'll take a little while to unzip the file and decompress. So what you would do once it's done unzipping, you want to go to File, and then you can click Open. And then I guess you just wait. So as you can see, I have a whole bunch of different VMs downloaded that I can just, whenever I decide I want to work on them, I can just hit here and then upload this file. For those who ever want to be interested in streaming, don't stream while your child is right next to you. It just gets in the way. He's over here messing with everything, messing with like headsets and everything. He's still doing fine. I tried to set up a VM once and had no idea what I was doing. You know what? At first it's really difficult to do, and it's almost, I guess, intimidating to a certain extent. But honestly, once you kind of figure it out, it's really simple. It all depends on how you want to install it as well. If you want to install it like a real machine, you can download the whole ISO file and install it, and it basically would simulate installing, like popping a disk in a machine or popping a bootable USB in, and installing it that way. I prefer just doing these quick files because every once in a while, Kali or Offensive Security or Parrot or whoever that makes the operating system updates it, so you can just install it, let it run, and then you can secure it that way. It's a lot easier than all the other options. If you have a Mac, I'm sorry, I can't help you right now. However, you can go check out Digital Empress. She has one coming up real soon. So I'm not sure if I have that channel name off the top of my head, but be on the lookout for that. She uses Macs, and she will go through a whole video on how to install Kali Linux from your Mac OS. All right, so it finished unzipping, but we already kind of jumped through the step already. So you can kind of see these are the files that you would unpack when you unzip the file. And then let's just, for the sake of this stream, we'll go through it again. So we'll hit open, go to the location of where it was. So you have this one right here, hit open, and boom, that's it. All right, so since we already have this up and running, I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna shut this one down, because now we can actually go through the process of actually setting up and securing your Kali Linux machine. I don't know if you guys saw that, but the screen basically asks you if you moved it or copied it, and you would just select I copied it. Yes, I'm still streaming. Oh, this is my Twitter page. That's Instagram. And I had my Facebook one up, but I guess it's gone. So let's just close all of that out. Let's go with setting up on Virtualbox, because I said that's what we were going to do. So we're going to leave that one running right now in the background, just in case there are people who prefer Virtualbox over Kali, over Vmware. So we're going to hit file, and then you're going to import appliance. It's almost the same. It's the same step, except it's a different name. So instead of open, it's import appliance. So we're going to go here. Where's my desktop? Desktops. Select open. And then import. And basically it's going to go through this whole process here, and then you're going to have the same thing like the VMware image. I don't know what's going on. It's the curse of the live demonstration gods. Anytime you try to do a live demo, shit just never goes right. So basically you go, and if you look here, it would do the same thing as when you open up an image in Kali in VMware. So we're going to go back to VMware real quick since we have this up and running. So the next step you would want to do is you have your Kali Linux machine up and running, but you want to simulate real life as possible. So you don't want your machine to have weak passwords. You don't want it to have old SSH keys. You don't want it to have security vulnerabilities. You don't want to have anything like that, because there's nothing worse than the hacker getting hacked. It's just don't let it happen to you. So when you download Kali and install it the first time, it comes with a default password, username of root, and the password is Tor, so Toor. So, like I said, so the username is root, password is Tor. Obviously, that's not a secure password at all. But we're going to fix that, as well as a couple other things once we get started. So, this is what your Kali Linux machine looks like when you first get it booted up. It already has some tools here that come on the side that you can change. But it comes with, a whole bunch of other tools, and they actually break it down. So from information gathering, vulnerability analysis, pretty much everything that you would do on a different pen test. So if you were doing a pen test for Wi-Fi, these are all the tools that they have here. These are all exploitation tools. So you have Armitage, which is basically like a GUI for Metasploit. You have SQL Map. You have the social engineering toolkit. You have Searchploit, which basically is what you use to search for exploits, and obviously you have your Metasploit, which anybody who does pen testing or any type of hacking should be familiar with. Metasploit is ran by Rapid7. They used to be free. Now they have a free version as well as a paid version. The paid version comes with a whole bunch more features, but it's really expensive. So everybody usually sticks to the free version. Same thing here. So these are your typical tools, but the great thing about Kali Linux is that there's so many other tools out there that you can download from other sources. But we'll get to that in a minute. The first thing you want to do when you get your Kali Linux up and running is you want to make sure it's up to date. So typically what you would want to do is you want to run this command. You want to run apt get update. And what it's going to do is go check through its different resources to make sure that you have the most up-to-date packages available. You do not. So there's a notification right there that actually tells you that there's application updates that need to be installed. It's just like any other machine. You always want to keep your machines up to date. You never want to have an outdated software or outdated hardware, because anytime it's outdated means that that version is no longer supported, and if it's no longer supported, that means that there's a vulnerability out there that 9 times out of 10 someone can use to leverage to either get into your machine or get certain information to leverage a bigger attack. We ran the update first, so now we're going to go and run apt-get upgrade. Now the difference between upgrade is upgrade will install or remove packages that are different. We'll upgrade or remove the packages. You always want to make sure you run update and then you run upgrade, then follow with upgrade. So if you hit the up tab in your terminal, it'll usually go back to the last command you wrote. Then you write apt-get upgrade. You select yes. This usually takes a little bit to go, depending on how long was the last time you updated your machine. So since we just downloaded this, it may go a little while. So again, typically I would just say this is time for more questions, but since there's only, again, we had 5, we were winning a minute ago, but we dropped down 2. So I don't know if there's any other questions. Okay, hold on. Have you used the Windows subsystem for Linux? No, I have not. Typically, if I want a Linux machine, I'll just download a Linux VM. Windows, I don't trust Windows when it comes to security. That's just my personal take on it. It can work for other people. I'm actually going to mess around with the Kali app for Windows in the very near future, just for work purposes. But I typically stay away from anything that's security related with Windows, because Windows is just really vulnerable. just put it to you that way. I'm pretty sure most of the people who've done CEH or any type of ethical hacking from the days of Windows XP, the first vulnerability I learned was MS08-067, which basically was a surefire exploit for Windows XP, and I think you can still use it even on Windows 7 to this day, or there's another version of it based on the SMB exploits. So sorry, Microsoft. Don't, You're just a web dev. How would you go about making sure your sites are secure? There's free scanners you can use. I mean, honestly, you could even use Kali Linux right here, and test it yourself. You can run Nmap scans and make sure that all your ports are closed that you want to be closed. You can run something called NIC2. I actually have an article on my blog on the most common tools you would use for Kali Linux, and NIC2 is definitely one of them. There's another one called Directory Buster, so you would make sure that one you would run just to make sure that there aren't any hidden directories that you don't even know about on your own website. And then once you do that, it's all about, I guess, keeping ports that you don't want open, keeping those closed. If your website uses a lot of search boxes or anything like that, you want to make sure your parameters are. But what you typically want to do is you want to make sure that you're not that your SQL database, if you're using a SQL database in the background, you want to make sure that that's secure. Make sure that someone can't use SQL commands to manipulate the database and gain access that way. You also want to make sure you're secure from things called like cross-site scripting attacks, where people can use different types of almost like JavaScript codes or input to manipulate the website other ways. But yeah, other than that, they have different web scanners or stuff that you could use and test for yourself. So here, I'll just show you real quick while this is running, if it will let me. I'm gonna move this over here real quick while this is running. So Nmap or Network Mapper is an open source scanner created by Gordon Fyodor Lyon. Nmap is a network scanning tool that is used to discover and scan hosts and services by sending packets and analyzing for responses. Nmap can also be used to perform other tasks like discovering operating systems, firewalls, packet filters, and even scan network ports for vulnerabilities on networks. So it's literally that simple for a simple Nmap scan. Just the command and the IP address or the URL you want tested. So I don't want to get in trouble on my first day. So because Nmap is what you would call an active scanner. So if you scan something without permission, never scan without permission. But if you do scan something without permission and you get caught, let's just say your career is over before it really started. And they're really heavy-handed with these hacking laws, or these cyber fraud act laws. So computer fraud act, laws. So you really don't want to mess around with that. All right, so our upgrade is completed. And then there's usually one more that you would run, which is apt-get dist upgrade. Now I had it backwards originally. I said that this will install packages and remove stuff. Well, I said apt-get upgrade would do that. I apologize, that was incorrect. So apt-get upgrade will update the list of the available packages and their versions. So I'm going to walk to my house. So what apt-get dist upgrade does will install and then remove the package afterwards. So apt-get upgrade only just updates the image or updates the available packages, but dist upgrade will install everything that's needed to be installed, as well as remove the older packages or remove the other files. So some people will say, oh, why don't I just run dist upgrade? No, you always want to make sure you run apt-get upgrade first. So that'll update everything, and then the dist upgrade will then install anything that needs to be installed and remove it. You don't want to jump in front or jump ahead and just do dist upgrade. All right, so while this is installed, while this is running, the next thing we want to make sure we do is we want to make sure our SSH keys are updated. So I just showed you earlier, you went on the Kali Linux website, you downloaded Kali Linux, great. Only problem is, so did everybody else. So everybody has the same SSH keys. Everybody has basically the same machine when you first install it. So if I have the same machine and you have the same machine, and somehow we get on the same network, if I already know what my SSH keys are, I can use those SSH keys to basically authenticate to your machine without actually going through the whole authentication process. If we're on the same network and we have the same SSH keys, you can run something called a man-in-the-middle attack on someone else's SSH session and gain access that way. Like I said, you definitely don't want to be the hacker who got hacked. So your SSH keys are usually located in this folder. So I'm going to actually just list it first with this command. So we're going to go ls etc ssh. And if you look here, these 6 keys are the ones that we're interested in changing. Those are the ones that come default by so there wasn't one. These are the ones that you want to make sure are different from everybody else's. So like I said, so you want to make sure you change these keys. So like I said, you don't want to delete these keys just yet. You want to make sure that you did it correctly first. So what you want to do is, so we're going to cd, which means change directory, and then we're going to go etc ssh, and now we're in the directory. So what I did here was this ls command was basically telling you to list the contents in this folder. Now when we did cd, we actually changed the directory, so now you can actually see this is where we are currently, and now when we ran ls again, we're in this folder. All right, so now that we're in this directory, and like I said, we can see these keys here. Now we want to run the mkdir, which is make a directory, and we're going to call it old keys. So now if you look here, there's our folder called old keys. Now what you want to do next is you want to move all 6 of these original SSH keys into this folder. So you could just do mv ssh host. Oh, by the way, quick tip, when you're typing, you can hit the tab button and it'll autocomplete, which is a gift and a curse sometimes, because sometimes it'll autocomplete, and it'll ask you, hey, do you want to list all 2,000 possible entries? And that's not what you want to do. So you can, like I said, ECD SA key. All right, so you can do it that way, and oh, geez, into old keys. So what we did here, we said move this file into this folder, right? Now you could do that 5 more times, or you could do another command, which would be move SSH host, and then this for a wild, the star or asterisk for a wild card, and then you want to move it into old keys. So now that should move everything that has anything that has SSH host, and whatever's after it doesn't matter. So in theory, what should happen is the remaining 5 keys that we have in there should move into old keys. So we hit enter, we get the command prompt again. Now if we run list, you see there's the old keys folder, and then there's 3 other entries, but the SSH host keys are somewhere else. So now if you list, I'm sorry, ls old keys, there they are. Now again, you could just do cd old keys to move into that folder, and then run the ls again, and it's there. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to run the clear command to clear the screen. And now that we have the old keys, we're going to back out, and now we're back into our SSH folder. So what I did was change directory and then the ... which backs us out. So let's see, we're going to clear out. All right, so now that the keys were moved, what we can do next is create a new key, create a new set of keys. So what we're going to do is we're going to run this command here, reconfigure open SSH server. And what this command is going to do is going to basically regenerate new SSH keys for us. So if you look here, we got a couple keys here. And then if we run the list command, you'll see we have 6 new SSH keys. But we also want to confirm that these hashes are different from the last ones. So what we want to do is we want to run the command md5 sum ssh host underscore asterisk for the wildcard. All right, so now these are our MD5 hash keys for our current for our current SSH keys. And then what we want to do again, we want to run the same command, but we want to run the command if that works there. Nope, I did the wrong command. I am sorry. Okay, let's try this one. All right. All right. So those are our MD5 keys there. And then these are the MD5 keys from our old MD5 hashes from our old keys. So if you want to just compare real quick, you can clearly see that those are different, which means those are new keys as opposed to the ones that we had when we first installed Kali Linux. Again, I want to apologize. My nerves are just all over the place. I'm just trying to make sure that this stream goes good. This is my first one, so just bear with me. All right. The next thing we want to do in Kali Linux, we'll hit CD, which will bring us back to the root prompt. So the next thing yeah, this is my first stream. So the next thing you want to do is basically you want to run, you never want to run Kali as root all the time, because if you mess something up as the root user, you mess up the machine. So you want to, just like when you're hardening a Windows machine, you want to create, you have your admin level accounts. Appreciate it. You want to have your admin level accounts that you need to use just in case, but you also want to make sure you have regular users. You never want to give someone too much power. That's just in anything. You typically want to use the just curious. Security zombie. I actually am a pen tester. I've been doing pen testing now for about 5 years, but this is my first time actually trying to, I guess, do it from a standpoint of trying to teach someone else. So I know how to do these things. I know what to go through and what commands to run, but to try to explain it to somebody else is where I start to get nervous and confused. And then I'm streaming and I have my son here and it's just a mess. So full time, I did some red teaming back a few years ago for another company, but now it's more of just kind of, office setting pen tests. So obviously we don't get to do all the cool stuff for red teaming anymore, as much as I want to. Every once in a while we'll get a full red team engagement, but for the most part it's just more of like compliance testing and stuff like that. Eventually I want to go out on my own and start doing red teaming, but I want to focus more on small businesses and maybe even some educational systems like, schools and stuff like that, maybe colleges. Just, again, if I can help somebody get into, to secure a school or something, so there aren't any type of people breaking in or school shootings or anything like that, I would definitely something I would like to do. And for as far as awareness and training like that in school systems, is try to help kids with cyberbullying. So that's typically where I am right now. The most sexy part of our jobs. No, the most sexy part is the report writing. Everybody loves report writing. So, all right. So where was I? Oh, okay. So we want to add an unprivileged user. Like I said, you don't want to have someone running as root all the time. Typically, we kind of do it sometimes by bad habit, but you really don't want to do that. This should have probably been one of the first things that we've done, but because I wanted to kind of update all of everything else first, it's just more convenient to do it this way. So, I think I explained that. Okay, so I'm actually looking at my website. So you actually go, see if I put it. I'm trying to put it in the chat. So I actually had written an article about it a while back. So that's what I'm actually trying to follow, because I'm going to promote myself. So, like I mentioned, using the root account is definitely dangerous, and it's recommended that you definitely install an unprivileged account to protect yourself. Also, it follows great best security practices. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an unprivileged account, but we're going to give it super user access so we can run commands as root as needed. So to create a new user, what we're going to do is we're going to type this command. Add user, and I'm just going to say add user djax. So now it's going to ask me for a password, and I'm going to go, it's going to ask, also make sure you, thank you for the follow, sir. I appreciate that, security zombie. So you want to make sure your password's secure. I mean, just like everything else, you don't want to use the same password. So you don't want to use your Kali Linux password to be your Facebook password, which is also your Instagram password, which is your Twitter password, which is your email password, which is also your bank account's password. Because if someone who weren't as nice as me decided they wanted to gain access to your stuff, all they really needed to do is figure out one freaking password. What sense does that make? I can't stress this enough because I've literally, back to when we were doing red teaming stuff or we were doing information gathering steps, we get one password and I own you. There's no other way to put it. Like, I can get one password, and it's usually something stupid. It's usually something like your pet's name and the year you were born. It's like, oh, Dolly, 1985. And because of that, now I have access to your bank account. I can write messages like I'm you on Twitter. And by the time you clarify it and say, no, it wasn't me, you got fired for writing something inappropriate. So just for best security practices, use secure passwords, use secure password phrases, use a password manager like LastPass or KeyPass. Let them generate the password for you because no one's going to come up with figuring out a way to guess uppercase K at $, whatever, for 100-something characters. All right, so anyway. So we used the password, we created a password, we retyped the password to confirm it, and now at this point you can type in whatever you want for information. So I'll just say D, and then work phone, I don't know, 345-678-9012. And we'll just skip that one and skip that one. Is the information correct? Sure it is. All right, great. So we have a user. Now, so we have a user that we can use instead of using root, but what happens when we want to install different programs, or what happens when we need to run something that requires you have to have root privileges? Well, that's what this next command is for. So you do su, so super user or sudo, and the username you just created. And now, as you can see, Juicy Sword. Hello. So, as you can see now, thank you for the follow. Move your chat box to the right. Oh. I'll actually just, let me move this. Is that better? And all right. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Okay. So, where were we? Oh, okay. So now we're logged in as the low privileged user. So now let's try to run the same apt-get upgrade command that we tried to run earlier. And if you look, it'll give us an error message. Permission denied. Unable to acquire front-end lock. Are you root? So now we can't run that as a regular user unless we run a sudo command, which basically is asking to use it as a super user. So now if we run sudo apt-get upgrade, it's going to ask for your password. Oh, first mistake. I totally didn't fix that. Yep. Okay, so that's where I skipped. I'm sorry. So we're going to run this command here. I apologize. A -G sudo dx. Oh, jeez. Okay. Okay. curse of the live demo. Okay, so now all right, so basically what I forgot to do is after I created the username, the underprivileged user of DJax, I should have modified the user as root before I jumped the gun and switched to that user. So this command here, user mod -a -g sudo. So this is basically modifying this user DJax and adding him to the group of the sudo users. So that was my fault. I will copy and paste that command in here. Where were we? So once we did that, I jumped back into the user, the DJax user. Then I was able to run the sudo apt-get upgrade, enter my password, and we're good to go. All right. Well, mistakes happen. Like I said, I'm human. So thank you for being patient and rocking with me still. And we will continue on. All right. We're going to clear the screen. So now we have updated and upgraded our Kali Linux because now this is finished in the background. We have gotten new SSH keys and we created a low privileged user. So now what we'll do is I'm going to log out. Because we're going to keep it honest, right? We need to do this like best security practices.